my name is Willow Rose Moondancer. I make videos here on YouTube about Wicca, and I also have a blog called wiccansaren'twicked.com. Today we are going to talk about some of the things that you may need in your journey in Wicca. It's important to remember that the list that I'm going to give you is stuff that I would want if I was starting over. So some of you may find that I didn't mention everything that you wanted. You may find that I mentioned things that you don't think are necessary. And it's also important to realize that you don't need any of this to be Wiccan or a witch. When I first started my Wiccan journey, I had the herbs from my cupboard. I had any like rocks or earthy things that I just already had, just because I collected rocks. And I had like the Yankee candles that I already owned. And for a cauldron, I literally just went to the dollar store and picked up like a little tin bucket and called it a day. That was what I had to start with. And so, yeah, don't feel like you need these things to be a real Wiccan. This is just a good shopping list for those of you who have a desire to have more things. So the way that I have set this list up is in my altar, which is over there. It is a bureau, a dresser for your clothes, and obviously mine doesn't have clothes in it. But it's got 3 drawers on each side, and I have it set up so there's the fire drawer, the earth drawer, the air drawer, the water drawer, sorry, a drawer for divination, and then a drawer for miscellaneous things like my Book of Shadows and other random things. And so I have the list kind of separated into those sections. Sometimes there's an overlap, so I have a part of our list where we talk about altar tools, but some of those altar tools also fall into the water section or the earth section, and so I will also comment as I go through if they belong in other drawers as well. So when it comes to altar tools, we have a cauldron. To start out with, you only need like a little one. Just a second. Yeah, so you only need a little one. This was my first cauldron. It does what it's needed for. I usually would like burn herbs or bay leaves in here, or use it to just mix some herbs together, or herbs and water, like just in small quantities. For my birthday, my partner actually got me like a really big cast iron cauldron, which I have used once so far to make a ritual bath. But yeah, so that's your cauldron. Also, I am having a nice cafe mocha beverage if you would like to join me. But yeah, and so next in the altar tools list is a chalice. I personally don't even have one of these yet. I usually just use like a regular cup or glass that I have. But yeah, so that would be a good thing to have for when you're doing offerings, or as part of your water. So typically on an altar you have a section for fire things, earth things, water things, and air things. And so the cauldron and the chalice could be in your section on your altar for water elements. It's also great to have a visual representation of your deities. For me, I just have candles. I use a white candle for the goddess, and I use a yellow candle or sometimes a red candle for the god. Recently, also for my birthday, one of my coworkers got me a little fertility deity statue kind of like thing. And so I think I'm going to start using that as my representation of the goddess. But I still don't have anything other than a candle for the representation of the god. However, it can be whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you think of them. And then the last thing for altar tools is a pentacle. I have 2 pentacles. I have that one, which I made, and then I have another one in my altar, I believe, that I just bought at a metaphysical shop, and it's also wooden, and it's just like nicely finished and stuff like that. It represents the earth. So you could also store it in an earth section in your altar if you want to separate it that way. So after altar tools, you have herbs and spices. And these also can fit in your earth section. So in my earth drawer, this is where I keep my herbs. So the biggest herb that I think anybody should have is sage. I think sage is pretty fundamental. I use it a lot. I use it to clear my house of negative energy. I also use it to create my sacred circle and to cleanse all of my crystals and any other things that I'm using for my magical workings. I use sage. So I think that is a big one to have. As well as that, another big one to have is salt. Salt is also used to purify and protect you. It's often used in sacred circles and the like, so that's also very important. Cinnamon is a good one to have, and a lot of people already have it. It is great for spell work because it increases the potency in your spell. A lot of spells also include bay leaf, as they're great for doing like burning spells. So an example would be if you were trying to purge your life of stuff, you could write what you're trying to remove from your life on a bay leaf, put it in your cauldron, and burn it. And that's a great ritual or spell that you can do. And then 2 more general herbs that I have are peppermint and lavender. Peppermint, I just buy peppermint tea, and if I feel like I want to use peppermint in my workings, I just cut open a tea bag and I use that. And for lavender, it's great for relaxation spells, relaxation rituals. It's great for sleeping spells, sleeping rituals, anything like that. And then the next thing we have is crystals, which I also put in my earth drawer. And the 2 big crystals that I would recommend for any beginners is, first of all, rose quartz. It's my absolute favorite crystal, and it's great for just generating a positive, loving atmosphere and really encouraging self-love. And then also black tourmaline, if you're someone like me who just kind of attracts a lot of negative energy. Black tourmaline is a great crystal to have to help protect you from that. It's just very important that you make sure you clear it. I have posts, I have videos and posts for that matter, about these 2 crystals on my channel, which I will leave a link to up here. And I also have written about them on my blog. But yeah, and then we have the section about air. So now we're diving right into elemental things that you would want for your altar, or just for your path in general. So the first thing I have is incense. Incense is a great thing to have on your altar for representing air. Different scents can be used for different things. I know I've had banishing incense, which I typically use when I'm creating a safe space. Also for my birthday, I got a lot of stuff for my birthday. My partner got me a set of incense that are all for the chakras. So they're great for helping to balance your chakras as well and just overall bringing you balance. If incense isn't your route, or maybe you just want more than one option, you can also do essential oil. So you need a diffuser for that, and you need the oils. A couple oils that I would recommend when you're just starting out is, once again, peppermint, lavender, sage, but also lemon. I find those 4 are a pretty standard set, and you can get a lot of benefits from those. And then we move on to the fire section. So things you might want for fire is candles. Candles are very well used in the witchcraft, whether it is for magic or a ritual or just connecting with the element of fire. Specifically, I would recommend green candles, mostly because I know personally I like to do a lot of wealth magic when I do magic, and green is a great color to represent that. I also would recommend a red candle to represent the god, and a white candle to represent deity. Also, a white candle is great to have because it kind of can be used for anything. It's like one of those colors that if you don't have the color you're looking for, you just use white. It's not going to be as great, but it's a good substitute. And then another one that I would recommend is either having a pink candle or a yellow candle. I would recommend a pink candle if you think you're going to be focusing more on love, and a yellow candle if you're going to be focusing more on happiness. I use both of those colors quite frequently. And then of course something to also keep handy is matches or a lighter. And then for your water section. So we've already talked about the cauldron and the chalice, and those both are representations of water. But something else that you can keep in your water section of your altar is an abalone shell. I think that's how you say it. There's a lot of controversy on abalone shells, mostly because the abalones are becoming more endangered because of poachers for various reasons. So some people do not want to condone purchasing their shells because they feel that supports the poachers, which is a totally valid thought process to have. And if I knew about the controversy, I probably would have done a lot more thinking about whether or not I really wanted one of those shells before I bought it. But alas, I didn't know about that, and I just bought one. I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with having one. It's just totally up to your belief. But if you choose not to have an abalone shell, you can also just go out to the beach and find your own big shell. They're typically used as like kind of like an ashtray, if you will, for your sage. So you can either take pieces of sage and put it directly in to the abalone shell along with other herbs if you want, or you can rest your sage stick in it, which is what I typically do, and just use it to catch any any ashes that fall off of your sage stick. But yeah, and I also just keep a lot of regular shells, or maybe even sea glass, in that drawer as well. And then we have divination. So there's loads and loads of different types of divination, but the 3 main types that I really enjoy is tarot, oracle cards, and my pendulum. I find my tarot deck is great for general things, and I find that when it comes to oracle cards, I get a deck that represents the deities that I work with. So I have an oracle deck specifically for Gaia, which is my matron, And then I also have an oracle deck based around the Greek deities, as that's my pantheon, and so that's how I use oracle cards. And then pendulums are really great for specific work, like if you want a direct yes or no question. I really love using pendulums. It's also really great for talking to your spirit guides really directly, or your ancestors, or even if you want to talk to any spirits within your home or anything like that. It's a really good tool to have. Mine is rose quartz, but yeah, I also have somewhere up here, I'll have a link to them, but I have made a video on pendulums and a video on tarot cards and maybe even oracle cards. I can't remember if I've done individual videos or if it was just one big video that contained it all together, but regardless, any of that information will be up here for you. And then after that, we have just some miscellaneous things that you may want to have. So this is things that you would, if you have an altar system the way I do, this would just be your random extra drawer. So you might want some string or yarn in various colors, because if you like simple, easy to do magic, not magic is where it's at. I do that all the time, and yeah, different colors obviously will help you with different things. I really focus on, once again, green yarn, just because I have been in the past, I've had financial issues, and so I did a lot of magic to help that, and here we are, it's worked. I would also have a journal or like a 3-ring binder, depending on how you want to keep your Book of Shadows. I currently have a journal, but I think I would like to transition over to an actual binder. I just feel like that would make me more organized. It would make me want to write in it more. But yeah, and then I would also recommend just having some books about Wicca or about witchcraft. Some books that I recommend is really anything by Scott Cunningham. I really like him. I've read both of his books about being a solitary witch, and I think that they were really helpful. Another book that I really recommend is The Complete Idiot's Guide to Wicca and Witchcraft. I got that for Christmas like 2 years ago, I think, from my dad, and it's a really good book, and it also has like in the back, I haven't done it yet, but it's something that I do intend to do. It has like a year and a day study, I believe, in the back, and so that's a really good resource as well. And then one more book that I recommend, I haven't read it myself yet, but it is written by a YouTuber that I follow and have been following since I started my Wicca journey, like, how long ago was that? 3 years ago, I guess. The book's called Wicca, and it's by Harmony Nice. I really recommend you checking out her YouTube. She has a whole series on Wicca, but she also does other stuff as well, like conspiracy theories and all that jazz. She's really funny. And then we have things that you might want to have that you would scavenge rather than purchase. So these would be feathers. That's great for your air section in your altar or wherever you keep your things. It's great for just having it there on your altar for when you're doing rituals to represent air, but it's also great for like smudging and stuff like that. You can also find like acorns and pine cones. You can use those as decorations for your altar depending on the season, but there's also spells and rituals that call for those sorts of things, because as always, everything has its own vibrational energy, which will contribute its own special pizzazz, if you will, to whatever spell or ritual you're doing. Also, rocks also can be used as decoration or in ritual. And like twigs and flowers, all things that just make your space more naturey, more grounded. But yeah, something to keep in mind is that I did not say everything. For example, I have an app name that I didn't mention because I don't necessarily think it's necessary. When I first started, I didn't have an app name for like a year or two after I started Wicca, and I simply just used my finger for anything that I would use the app name for. I also haven't mentioned a besom or a wand because I think those things personally are better made than bought. But there's nothing wrong with buying them. I just think that if you make them yourself, you can harness a lot more energy into them and make them more powerful of a tool for you. But it is totally up to you and your practice. That is all for today's video though. I hope you enjoyed. I just realized it's super mega long, so hopefully I can cut it down a bit for you guys. But yeah, make sure you check out my blog, wiccansaren'twicked.com. I make 2 posts a week, one on Wednesday and one on Friday. And make sure you follow me here because I make videos every Monday and Thursday. And until next time, blessed be.